Let's talk about what the difference is between a recursive and an explicit formula. And we're going to do this using two different tables. The first table gives us the price of a car as it depreciates at the end of each year. And so we can see in the first year, the price of a car is $12,000. Second year, it's 7,200 and so on. So if we were going to write a recursive formula, we would know that the value in the first year, or the a sub 1, would be 12,000. To figure out a sub n, we need to know, is this going down by the same amount every time, or is it going down by a percentage? In other words, is it arithmetic or geometric? So from 12,000 to 7,200 is a difference of 4,800. It went down in value by $4,800. But if I look at the second set of values, when I went from 7,200 to 4,320, that's not a difference of $4,800. So that tells me it's not arithmetic. Let's check and see if it's geometric. And the way that we do that is by division. 7,200 divided by 12,000 gives me zero point 0.6. Let's see if it's the same all the way down. 4,320 divided by 7,200, that's 0 0.6. And 2,592 divided by 4,320, also 0 0.6. So this is geometric, and the ratio is 0 0.6, or if you want to use fractions, 0 0.6 is 3/5. Either one of those is fine. So a sub n is going to be a multiplication. It's going to be 0.6 times the previous term, which is a sub n minus 1. And then to write a complete recursive function or recursive formula, we have to include that it's used when n is greater than or equal to 2. And so this right here is the recursive formula. So what is the difference between this and an explicit formula? Well, an explicit formula is the same thing, only with swears in it. No, I'm just kidding. An explicit formula is those geometric formulas that we learned how to write a couple of lessons ago. So it's a sub n equals, and then if you've forgotten, it's the starting amount. It's a sub 1 times the recurring ratio to the n minus 1 power, which in this case is going to be 12,000 times zero point 0.6, or 3/5 if you like fractions, to the n minus 1 power. And that is what's known as the explicit formula. Okay, so right here is the recursive formula, and this is the explicit. And you can think of it like explicit is something that you could type into the calculator. Explicit is in a sort of a y equals form that you could put in the calculator, and recursive is not. And so recursive has the a sub n, a sub 1, n greater than or equal to 2, and explicit is just the geometric form, or arithmetic. Hey, speaking of arithmetic, let's take a look at this second one. Spoilers, this one's going to be arithmetic. The value of a home has increased each year. Write a recursive and explicit formula for the sequence. So again, recursive, we need the first term, which is $157,000. What's the home going up by every year? Well, in the first year, it went from 157,000 to 160,500, which was an increase of 3,500. The next year, it went up to 164,000 from 160,500, which was, hey, what do you know, an increase of 3,500. And then in the last year, it went up to 167,500 from 164,000. And you're not going to believe this, also 3,500. So we're adding a certain amount every time. This makes it arithmetic. Plus 3,500. So our a sub n is going to be the previous term, a sub n minus 1 plus 3,500, when n is greater than or equal to 2. There's our recursive formula. Our explicit formula can be written like this, a sub, and there's a couple of ways to write the explicit formula. My preferred way is to do it in slope-intercept form. If you're at 157,000 and you count back one, you subtract 3,500, you'd be at 153,500. And then we have a slope of 3,500 each. And it's also totally fine to use our arithmetic sequence formula, which is a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d, d being the common difference, which would be 157,000 plus n minus 1 times 3,500. You are never going to believe what this turns into once you simplify using the distributor property. 3,500 times n is 3,500 n minus 3,500, and turns out 157,000 minus 3,500 is 153,500 plus 3,500 n. And so you end up with the same thing as you do with the slope-intercept form. Whatever you like best is fine with me. Use the one you're most comfortable with. But either way, this is how you would write the explicit formula and the recursive formula. And so that's how you would get both formulas from the same set of data.